I joked at the start of this show how funny it was that I thought the broadcasting crew on TNT was just floored by the performance of this young man, this RKO out of nowhere, Keon Ellis. I thought Keon was extraordinary last night.
He was.
But I feel like that's Keon. That's Keon. That's what he does.
Absolutely.
Now, what, excuse me, what clicked yesterday was him on the offensive end.
Mm.
What he did on the defensive end might have been the game changer for them yesterday. But when you get that, which I think you can get from Keon on a night tonight, when you get those little step in threes, when you get those dribble penetrations, when you get that little extra juice you get from Keon on the offensive end, that's where you get to, hey, this brother could be the king starting two moving forward.
I think there's no doubt in my mind that's the king starting two guard moving forward. And
how much does the offense play into that?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot, because he's not just a negative on the defensive end. He is. De'Aaron Fox tried to tell us when he got like his first start.
Yeah.
He said, y'all ain't seen it, but this guy a dead-eye shooter.
Mm-hmm.
He can shoot the rock. And, that plays a huge factor into being able to be comfortable with him being that two-guard spot. I was on the insiders during the handoff, and I took it a step further. I said, Keon Ellis is the starting two guard. And if Malik Monk during negotiations says, all right, y'all got that 17-5, sounds good. But if I'm going to take that, I want to start.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
You got it, Malik.
Yeah.
You're the starter.
Yep.
And ain't nothing happening to Keon. I'm willing to go three guard. I think Keon's
roster the same. HB goes to the bench. Keegan goes to 4.
Yeah, if need. Well, no, because HB goes to the bench. Yeah, I thought you said HB goes to the 4. Yeah, that's how it will go.
Okay.
And because I think that Keon is a physical enough defender to be able to play bigger than what maybe his height says.
Okay.
I think he's really like 6'3", 6'4", but looking at that game last night, he can battle and he can defend against Andrew Wiggins or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely keep him in that starting lineup, and if Monk says that's what he wants to do to stay, all right, we're going three guard. Let's go. Let's cook.
Yeah, that's probably the wild card in all of this is, what exactly does Malik want? What are those contract negotiations like? Thankfully, that conversation isn't being had today.
Thank you.
Hopefully, that conversation isn't being had for a little ways. But I think you can't ignore the point you just made, because we have speculated maybe for Mike's 2 years now. He's looking for something that the core of this roster doesn't have. He found it. Took him a while. He found it in Keon. And I don't know. It's not like the romantic version is Keon stepped on the floor, wooed everybody, and won this spot. Keon had played.
Yep.
And whether it was, I don't know what the difference was. Lack of consistent rotation, lack of confidence, lack of knowing your role. I don't know what it was, but you'd see flashes like, hey, kid looks good.
Mm-hmm.
He's not playing a lot, but it looks cool. Then all of a sudden he's like playing. You're like, yo, this dude is legit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Keon starting stat that started to emerge. And then it was like, is he KZ Okpala where he starts, he plays minutes? If he's not starting, he's not playing. I don't know. I don't know where to pinpoint it all, but it's impossible for me to not think about Davion in the same conversation. When guys know you're gonna get run, when guys know this is your role, I think they can perform differently. And shout out to Keon because he was playing well in a role, and then his role changed.
Hmm.
It was like, well, Kevin ain't coming back. And you know how we feel about Malik in his position.
Mm-hmm.
So here you are. You're the starting two guard for the Sacramento Kings. And I think, what's good, streaks are fun, but like Roman Reigns, like Gunther, they got to come to an end and you got to have a good story for it. Sometimes the pressure for bringing that streak to an end can be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing to happen was the Kings lose when Keon starts. Like get that nonsense over with. Just let him go out there and play basketball. Because now Mike was bringing it up. Now it was like out there.
He did.
It wasn't like Will Z digging into stats. It was like it was out there. All right, that's behind us. Settle in and play basketball. And man, what an incredible job he's done. This was a guy who we legitimately wondered, what are they going to do? They're gonna run out of games.
Yeah.
And he winds up getting that contract torn up, and signs an NBA contract. And he's one of the better in-season stories I think we've ever seen league-wide.
Mm-hmm.
But he, from an outsider's perspective, he appears to be everything that Mike Brown has been looking for in a player.
Yes. I mean, it just can't be stated enough how perfect it seems he is for Mike Brown and what he wants to do, and what he's able to do on defense, the ground he's able to cover. It's just it one thing that I feel like I can say about Keon and what he's been able to do is he's made others' jobs easier, and he allows others to do what they're great at.
Mm-hmm.
De'Aaron is a hell of a defender, but I think the thing he's great at is putting pressure on the defense and what he does on the offensive end. But they were asking him and saying, look, we need you to be a great defender because we don't have one. It's like, all right, well, I'm like, he's a good defender. Why does he got to be the defensive stopper and score 30? Well, now he doesn't have to. We saw last night. Usually he'd be guarding Steph Curry. No, Keon Ellis is guarding him. Keegan Murray's guarding him. I don't know. And I'm sure maybe on a switch, assignment-wise, I don't know if De'Aaron Fox guarded Steph Curry last night. That never happens in Kings-Warriors games because they always usually have to have him guarding. And last night, I don't think he did. Between Davion, Keegan, and Keon, I don't think Fox had to guard him yesterday.
I thought Davion did a good job last night.
Yeah. They all did. They all made him work, man.
Yeah.
They all made him work.
And that's all you can really ask for with a player like Steph Curry
is
like make things difficult for him.
That's it.
Sometimes when he gets moving, it's like I heard Stan Van talking about this last night, and it's as they were going about Keon Ellis. Is they were talking about with Steph, you want to make him move, like you want him moving around as much as possible when he's trying to get those shots.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I think of so many of Steph's biggest highlights, and I go, sometimes I feel like that's when he's best. Is when, like, we think about Clay catch shoot, just right there, boom, easy work for him. With Steph, like, how many times have we seen Steph like dribble around in circles and move around, and then just like, I'm gonna shoot it now. And I mean, he took one last night, and again, there's just like these different moments throughout the game where you go, all right, we've seen that shot fall before. It didn't. He had one last night where he took an off balance 3 off of like 1 foot and missed. It was like, not thinking anything of it right now. But I'm gonna bookmark that moment. We talked about the logo 3. I'm gonna bookmark that moment. Yeah. He was looking for, because there's different moments, and the timing of the game is so important too. Either of those drop, it sets the 20% of Warriors fans that were in there in the Golden One Center, sets them up, sets the Kings fan base down, and you start to feel the shift. The shift at the end of the first half, that was enough to get the whole TNT crew like, yeah, the Warriors got this. The Warriors had not played well that first half.
They were pretty dismissive of the Kings the entire night.
Extremely dismissive. Well, Shaq gave Domas some love. I'm trying to remember if there were Keon references. Like I remember specifically Shaq talking about Domas and how aggressive he was. But they just kept pointing to the fact that Steph had like 5 points at the time, I think at halftime, and Clay hadn't scored. And that's what they like. You're up 4 or 5 or whatever it was. And that's what you got from them. Nah, Warriors are just fine. All right.
If I'm the Warriors, I feel good. We're down 4. Steph only has 5 points. Clay hasn't scored yet. You know that's going to change. The others have done their job to stay in this game. And I feel good if I'm the Warriors at the half. The Kings are in trouble because they played as good as they probably could play. And they're still only up 4.
Thank you, Shaq.